Hi guys and girls on YouTube, welcome to my channel. Just a quick here, I don't know how this is going to turn out. I've got this 32-inch Samsung, it's a UE32T4307AK. Now the customer has complained that the red light is flashing on the front. We just plug it in. You can see that the red light is blinking and it won't come on. Now this is a pretty common fault, I've had it before. It's usually caused by data corruption in one of these two EEPROMs. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. But in this case, it's nothing to do with that now. The reason I've unplugged the LVDS connector is so I can look at the back of the board. Because the customer's already told me what's wrong with this. He's had water running down the aerial socket. Now if it was one of the EEPROMs faulty, you'd still have 12 volt on there under the fault condition, but if I just swap hands and measure this, so we measure on the cathode of that diode there, and then we look at the meter, you can see that the power supply is tripping. Right, now like I said, the customer's already told me what's wrong with this. If you look in the aerial socket, you can see rust around there. You can see a white, I don't know how clear you can see on the camera. Yeah, you can see it better there, a white deposit. And that's your bit of rust. Now obviously the water's run straight down vertically, and we just unplug the power connector. You can see it's run down onto the pins here of the chopper control. It's probably a MOSFET transistor. You can see the white deposits on that. I'm very surprised that hasn't gone short circuit and blown up. But if we look further down here, you can see between, let's get something to point with, that low ohm resistor will be the current sensing for the MOSFET, and you can see water's run down there, it's run down that diode, and now the phone's ringing. Right, okay, so we're back to this. So you can see where the water's run down, right down here. Between, that'll be the current sensing resistor for the FET. That could be in conjunction with the snubber diode, or it could be an auxiliary winding on the chopper transformer. But the only hope we've got fixing this is clean off this bit here, clean off this bit here, because we could have a conductive path through that, and check that diode. So that's really all we can do, apart from to get a better angle, apart from just fitting a brand new board. But it's definitely worth a try, because that's turned black, so you would imagine that's gone conductive, and also there's a black bit there. But that's really test or replace that diode, clean them up. That's really all you can do with this. I don't think there'll be water under there because it's coated with like a silicone. But yeah, let's just clean all that up, check that diode, and then let's see how we go on from there. Right, so I've cleaned it with a bit of solvent. Now you can see there that the top one is alright, but here, it's difficult to get the camera in properly. And you can't really see it here, just at the bottom there, between that diode and that, there's a conductive track which is actually burnt into the circuit board. So we're going to have to take that out with a little drill. Let me just see if I can zoom in better, just hang on. Right, you can just about see it there, black track going from that diode to that inductor. That's actually burnt into the board. The only cleaning's not going to get that out. We're going to have to drill that, just drill a little bit of the top of the board out to remove that. There you can see better now, look. In fact, what I've done is take the old board out and just that's where the tuner is, so there's no water ingress on the back, it's purely on the front. You can see it a lot better there now. I think what I'll do is I'll take that diode out and that inductor, and then we can check the diode better when it's out of circuit, and we can clean up that PCB a lot better without them components in. Right, so with them components removed, you can actually see now very clearly the conductive path. Now I've looked on the back of here, I've looked where these components go to. Let's just draw up a quick diagram, because it was as I thought. That's the snubber, and this is an auxiliary winding off the chopper transformer. Right, so I've just drawn up this really quick diagram. It might not be exact, it'll be something similar to this. So we've got the snubber diode there, and we've got on the primary, and we've got the little inductor, which is just 2 ferrite beads wrapped around a piece of wire. That is on the secondary. So what we need to do is we need to remove that conductive path. Now the conductive path is between the cathode of the diode and the inductor. So if you look at that, we will have a resistance between there and there. Now it's probably a very high resistance, but that's what we need to remove, and we're going to have to drill the board a little bit, and also it'll be a good idea to check that diode, because in my experience, when diodes have had water running on them, it actually gets inside the case itself. In fact, in the 80s, I did a Panasonic video. I think it was NV7000. It had lots of little glass diodes in, and that had a water spill. And it was a glass diode. You could see inside the diode where it had gone rusty. So when we remove that path, we definitely need to be checking that out. Or maybe even better still, to just put a brand new one in, because we don't want it failing further down the line. But that's the first thing to do, is to get rid of that path there. Of course, the best way to do it is with a very small drill bit, and just drill a little bit out the board. And there we go. Let's just get this in focus. Can you see there where I've just drilled? You don't need to put it in a drill, you just twist it by hand. We only need to take the surface off. But I think, to be on the safe side, I'm also going to drill a little bit at the top as well, in between them two bits, just to be on the safe side. It does look like there might be some sort of path still there, even though it's been cleaned. So let's do that. But there you can see the little hole. Well, it's not a hole, it's just I've just drilled the top of the board off. And what do you know, look at that. That is, get it on, that's the forward resistance of the diode, just over 20 ohms, that's normal. And this is why I prefer an analog meter. Let's just reverse it. Right, just reverse the polarity now, test leads. Look at that, we've got a reverse leakage on the diode. So that diode's faulty as well, so there's a good chance now this set's going to work. Let me just stop the camera and see what this diode is. Probably BA159 or something. Well, it's a good guess, but not quite right. It's actually a PG4007. Now, I've never heard of that. It's obviously a fast recovery diode. I'm just going to have a quick look on the internet if I could pull up a data sheet for it. Right, so that diode just appears to be a cheap copy of a 1N4007, but going with my gut instinct, I'm going to put an ultra fast 4007 in. Let's see how we go with that. Right, so that's the diode. Now here's a little tip: never bend diode leads with your fingers. Always bend with a pair of pliers, so you can keep that just like that while you bend it, because quite often if you try and bend it by hand, you could actually stress the junction inside and damage it. So what I do is I go like that with a pair of pliers, make the bend like that, because you could, if you stress the junction, you could find that diode fails at a later date. So let's just pop that and the inductor in and see where we go. Right, so that is the new parts in. That's the new diode. That's the old inductor soldered back in. All we need to do now is clean the board with some flux remover and a toothbrush. And of course, dry it off with a hairdryer before you plug it in. And that's the result there. You can't even tell anything has been changed on that board. That's the new diode there. That's the inductor there. Just look how nice that looks. And then we'll turn around to the other side. You can see the little bit I've drilled out the circuit board there. Right, all we need to do now is plug it in and see if it works. I mean, it still might not work yet. It might have damaged the tuner. I wouldn't have thought so, but you never know. So let's see what happens. Just one last thing, mustn't forget to put that back on over the primary of the power supply. Right, so here we go. I'm measuring the output of the power supply again. I'm going to switch it on here. 3, 2, 1. And we have now a steady voltage. So I would imagine, yeah, standby light's not flashing. I would imagine it's working, but let me turn it around, get the remote. Again, get ready to power it up. Yeah, there we go, it's come on. So all we need to do now is get an aerial to it and just check the tuner's okay. Right, so that's plugged in the back. Let's plug that in there. Do we need the remote? No, we don't need the remote. Oh, look at that. Look at that. If only all jobs were as easy as that. Alright guys and girls on YouTube, many thanks for watching my video, and I'll catch you in the next channel then. No, catch you in the next video, the next channel. Alright, many thanks, goodbye.